Beneath the endless sky, where the stars flickered like dying embers, there was an island, ancient, forgotten by the world. It was not marked on any map, nor did it appear on the shores of the known world. Those who spoke of it whispered it as though the name itself could bring ruin. Its shores were lined with black sands, and the sea around it was like a mirror, endlessly still, yet hiding the currents of time itself beneath its calm surface. Long ago, in the age before the Olympians had risen to power, before mortals learned to count the days and nights, there was a goddess named Ananke. She was the primordial goddess of necessity, the weaver of fate, and the keeper of time. She had no temple, for no mortal dared to build one, and she had no followers, for no mortal could understand her domain. Ananke's power was the tides of time, an invisible current that flowed not through water, but through the lives of every creature, every god, and every world. Time was her domain, but her nature was misunderstood. She was neither cruel nor kind, but simply inevitable, like the turn of the seasons or the setting of the sun. In the deepest recesses of the island, in a cavern where the walls pulsed with the rhythm of time itself, Ananke stood before a dark pool. The water was as black as the void, its surface alive with twisting images. In its depths were not reflections, but memories of all that had been and all that would come to pass. She had always known that time was a fragile thread, easily snapped by the will of those who would try to control it. And yet, one day, it was not fate that she had to contend with, but defiance itself. A mortal, a young man named Helios, had discovered the island by accident. He was no mere wanderer, but a brilliant scholar of the stars, obsessed with understanding the mysteries of the universe. He had heard the whispers of Ananke's power and had come to challenge her, believing that time itself could be bent to his will. When he arrived at the cavern and gazed into the pool, he saw a vision, one that would change his destiny forever. He saw the moment of his own death, a slow, painful end as the sun set on his life. But the image held something more, a chance, a fleeting moment where he could turn back the tides of time, undoing the death he had seen. "I will not be a slave to fate," Helios declared, his voice echoing through the cavern. Ananke's eyes, ancient and cold, turned to him. "Time cannot be controlled by mere mortals," she intoned. "You seek to defy me, and yet you do not understand what you are asking for." The sky above the island darkened, clouds swirling in an unnatural storm. The winds howled, carrying the scent of salt and decay. Helios felt a sudden weight on his chest, as if the very air had turned against him. He looked at the goddess, but her gaze was unwavering, like the stillness of the ocean at the edge of a storm. He reached out to the pool, his fingers grazing the surface of the water. The ripples that followed were not of water, but of time itself. Distorted, fractured, the very fabric of the universe trembling. Ananke's eyes narrowed, and her voice cut through the storm. "You wish to challenge time? Then you shall see the price of such defiance." Before Helios could respond, the world around him seemed to shatter. Time twisted and turned, spiraling out of control, and he felt his very being pulled into a maelstrom of moments. Moments that had already passed, moments that would never come, and moments that would never be his to experience. Ananke raised her hand, and a cold light enveloped the young scholar, freezing him in place. His body was not harmed, but his mind, his consciousness, was torn away, trapped in the currents of time. He was neither alive nor dead. He was lost in the endless spiral, unable to move, unable to speak. Helios found himself in a realm unlike any he had known. It was neither dark nor light, neither day nor night. It was the realm of pure time, where the past, present, and future existed simultaneously, but in no coherent order. Figures moved through this endless expanse, their faces familiar yet distant, as if they were both ghosts and echoes. Ananke had condemned him to this place, the prison of the eternal tide. Here, he would be trapped forever, unable to touch the world he once knew. The tide of time would carry him through endless moments, but never to any final destination. He would be a mere witness to the flow of time, his own existence an eternal echo. In his solitude, Helios began to understand the true nature of time. It was not something that could be fought or bent. It was not an enemy to be conquered. It was an ocean, vast, unyielding, and beyond the reach of mortals. He realized that in his arrogance, he had not only defied Ananke, but he had also defied the very essence of the universe itself. Years passed, or perhaps it was centuries. Time no longer had meaning in the prison. Yet, in the depths of his isolation, Helios began to feel something stir within him. It was not a memory, nor a vision. It was the sound of voices, soft, melodic, like the call of the wind through trees. The voices belonged to the nymphs, ancient and eternal beings who had once been the guardians of nature's flow. They moved between the worlds of the living and the dead, knowing the secrets of time and space. And, in this timeless realm, they could sense Helios's presence, trapped in the eternal tide. One nymph, a being of light named Thalassa, approached him, her form barely visible in the shifting currents of time. She whispered to him, a song of hope, a lullaby of the past and future. "Helios," she said, "time may not be your master, but neither is it your enemy. To return to your world, you must not fight it, but learn from it." With the nymph's guidance, Helios began to understand the deep secrets of time. He learned that time was not to be controlled, but to be embraced. He realized that his desire to change his fate was born from fear, from a need to escape death. But true freedom, he now understood, lay not in avoiding death, but in accepting it as part of the eternal flow of life. In the end, Helios chose to let go. He no longer sought to control time or defy his fate. He accepted his place in the eternal tide, becoming one with the flow of the universe. The nymphs watched over him, their songs a gentle lullaby, as he faded into the currents of time, no longer a prisoner, but a part of something much larger. The island remained, as it always had been, hidden from mortal sight. But sometimes, when the sea is calm and the stars are just right, one can hear the faint melody of a lyre carried on the wind. It is a reminder that time flows, unceasing, and that no mortal or god can ever truly escape its currents.